Well, folks, this is the most Russian-looking Japanese heavy tank on the list. Practically a distant cousin or offshoot to the Object 257 or 260. The Type 57, Tier A normal Japanese heavy tank with the new gun cooling mechanics, as was the hydropneumatic suspension. But this hull armor is very Russian. It's also cleft on the sides, so you don't need to side scrape. It does it for you. But this turret looks more like a STA turret, a little bit, but larger and thicker. The gun barrel also looks more realistic than the coils around it. So it's more like a thermal sleeve than an actual weird coil thing. So even though it's metal, that doesn't disperse heat. It's not insulated. So technically, still not that good. And you're adding to the weight of the gun barrel. So, meh. Okay. But it's not a bad looking vehicle. It should be slim as well as sleek. But the hull armor should not be as thick like with the Tier 9 or Tier 10 or the premium Tier 8. So we'll have to see with the actual armor. But for now, looks like the best armor relatively to the tier, right? It should be. It's also slope on the sides too. Look how thick this is. That is pretty good. It's even thicker on the turret rear for the bustle. That's the plate right there for the armor. Alright. See, this armor, it's not half bad. So it should be like 80 or at least 75, maybe 100. Alright, we'll have to see, but armor looks surprisingly good. It is V-shaped too on the sides, like with the 257. So, throw a lot of shots by side scraping, but yeah, that is thick. That is at least 80 right here. That could be 100 on the lower plate. So it will throw a few shots, but if we're following the trend of Japanese heavy tanks, they play more like 𝗧𝘆𝗽𝗲 with garbage hull armor but gun depression and turret armor. Hopefully this is not the case. Hopefully this thing actually has armor. But let's take a look at the main stats. It's a 105. So 360 alpha, the original alpha of the Type 63, the premium tank before they nerf it. But gold shell is APCR. It has average pen for gold, and high explosive is high explosive. AP round is good enough. Shell velocity is good enough for Tier 8. DPM is kinda well, it's below average. It's about 1800, so not the best, but certainly not the worst. Well, it's getting there. Aim time 2.3, actually not half bad. Cooldown of the gun after firing, it's 4.5 more seconds to the cooling of the gun barrel, so wait 16 seconds after you shoot for the better accuracy of 0.28. Baseline accuracy is like 0.4, which is kind of crap, but we'll have to see. Gun depression of 12 degrees when fully depressed with the suspension. 20 for elevation, 40 rounds. Following the trend of no loader for the vehicles, only radio operator. The commander is also the loader, so missing out on safe stowage and intuition initially, but top speed is still 35. Horsepower per ton ratio is even slower than the Tier 9 and Tier 10, only 14. Hull traverse, heavy tank. Turret traverse, fat medium tank, getting to very fat medium tank levels. Health is average 100 at the hull front. I think that only applies to the lower plate. I mean, if they say it's 70 on the hull sides, then that looks like the same thickness for this plate right here. So if that's 70, that's 100. It's a slope 70, but you could throw a few shots with side scraping based on the V shape of the hull design, but the frontal plate doesn't look as strong as with the upper plate. The lower plate might be a little bit thicker, but we'll have to see with the actual armor. No, they all have garbage hull armor, supposedly. But turret front is strong. Commander cupola is not as big as you saw. Oh, where the hell is the cupola? It's okay size. I mean, there are a few base to the commander cupola, but it's small enough, good enough. I mean, it's not that big. You It could be smaller, but it's fine, I guess. Also, I just noticed the turret support on the rectangular shape armor might be the weak spot from the front. Yeah, this little cheek right here. It's not as well sloped. It could only be like 70, so this might be the weak spot when you're side scraping, but small target. 120 at the turret sides, so 300 at the front, pretty thick. View range below average by 10. It's okay, it's not the worst. It's like with the WZ-111s. Radio standard, it's okay. I mean, we'll have to see with the actual armor, but if the hull armor is like 120 or 140, you can easily convince me it's an IA-7 prototype. Easily, but made up stats are made up. That is the stock 90mm with a stock turret. Cupola is still kind of prominent. Alright, fine. But looks even more Russian-esque, like an IS turret. Like an IS-2, except backwards a little bit. Also like the BZ-58, slightly from Tier VII. It should be heavier of a base turret or stock turret. Oh, 90mm has 2 gold shells and 2 high explosive anti-tank gold shells. That doesn't make sense. I think this is a placeholder. Why would you ever have less penetration with the same alpha and the same gold cost? This is a placeholder. That doesn't make sense. It's the 90 stock gun on the vehicle. Alright, stock gun is a 90. DPM is garbage. No, god damn it. Stock grind on this stock 90mm is going to be terrible. I mean, gold shell pin is not bad, but DPM just sucks. You have a 105 intermediate gun and the upgraded 105 with the gun cooling thing, but DPM is actually better on the intermediate 105 with better gold shell too. It's also high explosive anti-tank compared to APCR. Why won't you ever just use the intermediate gun? I mean, aim time might be a little bit longer than what you like compared to 2.3 with 2.5, but yeah, why? You don't need the turret for the intermediate 105. It's not gun cooling, but let's see the actual stats of the main vehicle. So 90mm, upgraded 105, top 105. You have a little bit better pen baseline with the AP round. Better DPM too. So gun depression is also factored in, but with the upgraded turret, it's 0.34 accuracy compared to 0.4 without the cooling, and 0.27 with the cooling, but aim time is the same. DPM is slightly better. Why would you ever use the cooling gun? Just use the middle intermediate 105. I mean, 0.34 accuracy is good enough, right? You don't need the 0.27 with the downside of 0.4 as the baseline. Also, worse DPM too. Just use the intermediate 105. It looks like a better gun. Also, don't have to upgrade the turret for it too. Yeah, this gun is a lot better, I think. Especially for the gold shell against Tier 10s or Tier 9s. Or some of the tank destroyers. Like thick tank destroyers. Well, it does weigh a little bit more. Slightly. That might be the stock engine. But still, I mean, 13, 14-ish horsepower per ton ratio with 35 is workable, but not the greatest. It's not the fastest vehicle out of Tier 8s. Okay. Camo, large heavy tank, but still a little bit better than some of the German heavies. Well, then again, everything's better than German heavies. View range 380. Yeah, about the stock gun, the 90mm seems like crap. Look at this DPM. Sub 1400 for a Tier 8? You're kidding me, right? Is that the worst DPM out of a Tier 8? I think that might be. I mean, stock gun wise, that is kind of good. It's kind of bad. I mean, you'll have a bad time with the stock gun. Also, the 57 Type 57's gun are not shared. Yeah, it's not shared. It's not shared with the previous tank, which is the... What the hell is the previous tank? The previous tank is the Type 4 𝗧𝘆𝗽. So none of the gun is shared on the 𝗧𝘆𝗽. So you just get a 90mm out of nowhere. It's not even shared on the 𝗧𝘆𝗽. So you're not familiar with this gun, but the DPM on this thing sucks. They should buff it. It's a terrible stock gun. So definitely recommend you researching the 105 intermediate gun without the turret. You don't need the turret, but how much does it weigh? It weighs more. Definitely weighs more. You might have to research the tracks to support the gun, but well, this gun even weighs more than the gun cooling 105. But it seems better though. You don't need to work with the garbage gun cooling aspects. Accuracy is good enough, baseline, with the turret, but you have a better gold shell in terms of penetration, and better 3 more millimeters of pin for AP round. Kinda weird how they designed it. I mean, there's choices, so you could choose to have the gun cooling or not, but yeah, base accuracy with the gun cooling is 0.4, similar to the Tier 9, similar to Tier 10, but bias for premium tanks, the gun cooling base accuracy is 0.36 without the cooling, compared to 0.4. Now, granted, this thing has less alpha, it got nerfed, has better DPM though, 2000 compared to 1900, so trade-offs, but this might have better hull armor than the premium tank at the cost of turret armor weak spot. This thing doesn't have a weak spot for the turret. It's pretty thick. Yeah, no weak spot. Yeah, no weak spot. I mean, you might shoot through the mantlet and shot trap into the trunnion support thing in the middle, but yeah, that's kind of difficult. That is pretty difficult to shot trap. It's also like 500mm at some points. So yeah, this thing has the cupola weak spot, but I don't know, might be better hull armor. So let's talk equipments. It should be versatile. It's versatile. Alright, equipments wise, it's the same with the Type 63. So we'll put the same equipments. Also the same with a bunch of versatile Tier 8s. Let's see, versatile, heavy tank, versatile, that doesn't count. T32 is versatile. So yeah, about the same setup. Rammer, vertical stabilizer. They tend to have a little bit wonky of a dispersion while moving and traversing, so I would recommend vertical stabilizer. You could go with hardening or vents, maybe even turbocharger, but vents is universal. I prefer vents, especially with the bonus to the first slot, but how good is dispersion factors? Yeah, 0.18. Compare this to the T32s. T32. And you can see Americans have better. 0.16. Huh. Traverse dispersion for the turret is not bad. I still recommend vertical stabilizer in this case. You're not utilizing that much of the hull armor to bounce shots, so always go hull down and poke around and move back and forth. Wiggle about vertical stabilizer. As for field mods, doesn't matter at Tier 8, but let's talk anyways. Better terrain resistance or track health. So you should not be getting shot into your hull armor most of the time, unless you're side scraping, but also have repair skill for the crew. I would say better terrain resistance. Goes a little bit faster effectively. Accuracy or aim time. Now aim time on this vehicle feels fine enough, right? 2.2. So I would say better accuracy, especially for the intermediate 105. Just use the middle gun. You don't need to use the gun cooling 105. You don't need that. You don't need that fancy crap. 0.34 is good enough. View range or stun duration. View range. Sometimes you don't even get stunned, so if you're hiding behind cover, view range is universal. Stun duration is situational, so always go with universal stuff, right? But we'll have to see the actual armor to give a better rating. It feels like this has the best armor out of all the Japanese heavy tanks for now. So it is cleft, it is side-scrapable, if that's a term, but it is trollish, it is somewhat thick on the lower plate, so that might troll a few shots thinking the lower plate is a weak spot, even though it should be the upper plate. So, we'll have to see the actual armor, but I feel this has the option of using a normal gun without the gun cooling. So you'd have to work with the garbage gun cooling 105 with the 0.4 accuracy. Just use the middle 105 for the decent enough accuracy. But this might be a 6.5 if it has good hull armor and good turret armor. If it has garbage hull armor, like only like 70 for the upper plate, then maybe a 6. So I'm worried about the trollish side scraping capability of this vehicle. You see how it's cleft. It is a V shape on a tier 8. So similar to the Object 257, that thing will bounce a lot of shots. Also with the 907, if you play it like a heavy tank, side scraping. Also with the T22 medium tank. So they also have a V-shaped cleft nose of a design. So you bounce a few shots if you side scrape with those Russian tanks, but if the armor is good enough on the Type 57, then this might be the best hull armor out of all of them. So you see this V-shape? It's a V-shape right there. So side scraper like this, all the shots will bounce downwards into the tracks and your tracks will eat it. Same goes with the Russian heavy tanks. 257 has the V-shape. What the hell is the 257? There you go, V-shape. So lower plate is obviously not as small of a diamond shape as the 257, but it's good enough. So yeah, V-shape, V-shape. Lower plate might be the thickest compared to the upper plate. I'd say 6.5 for now. Well, there you go, folks. The Type 57 Tier A normal Japanese heavy tank. So we're missing the lower tiers. The Type 4 Juto, the Type 3 Junu, and the Mitsu 108. But I took another look at this video right here. And take a look.
Far more modern and technologically advanced.
So this is the Type 71.
I love the look.
The Type 68. This thing has is it 68? But this thing has the sleeve barrel similar to this gun. So they swap it with the original design on the roadmap video. So this is a tier 9.
As an appreciator of big boxy straight
and
line
the original version of the Type 57 has the little coil thing. So they swapped the gun around, but small detail. Small detail. This is from like July, so about half a year ago almost. Well, there you go, folks. The Type 57. So as always, thank you guys for watching this video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.